Hi, everybody. It's Ashwin Rao again. How are you? Hope everybody in shoe form land is doing well. I wanted to spend a little bit more time with you today and talk about a brand that may be less known than some that I've talked about in my previous videos. And so today I am going to be talking about a brand out of Vietnam, a shoemaker out of Vietnam named Hephaestus Shoemaker. Hephaestus is the brainchild and the product of Thanh Lê. Thanh is a young up and coming shoemaker who builds all of his shoes by hand or using Goodyear welting technique. And I became aware of him about a year and a half ago. He was actually featured by Michael Baldinger. Michael, as you know, is a contributing member here and runs a popular Instagram account, mbshoedoc.com. And Michael really enjoys discovering new shoemakers. And one of the brands that really struck my eye when I started my shoe journey was the work that Hephaestus Shoemaker was putting out and Michael was featuring. And so I dove in and started to explore the brand. Initially, a lot of his website and even his website online is really all scripted for a Vietnamese audience, though obviously he has gained more traction internationally and can converse in English via chat messenger apps such as the Facebook Messenger or through Instagram. And so I browsed his Instagram and initially found this shoe that was posted in a post of his from earlier in his career. He's been active for a few years now. And I saw this pair and became really enamored with this style. At the time, I was really interested in some of the more aggressive styling approaches taken by some of the Italian shoemakers like Bontoni and Paolo Scafora, who at a much higher price point, nearing $1,000, were putting out shoes with this reverse skin stitch pattern amongst different designs. And I'd never seen a reverse skin stitch design that was placed onto a derby. So this sort of open channeled system, lacing system, and then also in the wingtip design, and yet very elegantly shaped and designed. And so I reached out to Fan using the Facebook Messenger or Instagram app. He was quick to reply, and I shared a picture with him and was hoping that he would be able to manufacture that exact shoe in a similar patina for me. So we went through the details, and this is the first shoe that I bought just about a year and a half ago. And as you can see, here we are a year later, and it's really held up great. I actually haven't even shown it. This is actually post wear last week. Occasionally I'll shine my shoes up, but this is, came with a really nice shine that I've since redone once. You can see the elegant kind of beveled waist here, as well as kind of a nice finishing here to the sole. He's got a closed channel sole, so you don't see any of the stitching that was done. This particular pair was made using Goodyear welting, but pretty tight waist, not quite as tight as say a TLB Mallorca, but still rather tight on the waist. Nice beveling to the waist, and you can see the nails done kind of in a nice way and the clean toe right there. So this was my first pair to kind of explore the brand, and I came away incredibly impressed. I was thrilled that the last that he used, which after I sent my foot measurements and said he thought I would be a good fit for his L last. I think that's his legacy last. And it fit me to near like bespoke quality. And to this day, this is one of my favorite shoes to wear in terms of comfort. Gets me some of the most comments because it is such a unique design. It has that reverse skin stitch. It's got that elegant toe box and kind of an almond tapered, in front of the foot, as well as a darkening, really deep darkened burnishing on the toe. And as I mentioned, just some really unique design features. On the back of the shoe, you can just see the standard finishing on the back and block heel. His heels are a little taller than many of the European makers. Not much of a taper here in this particular sole, but really nicely done in terms of design and put together. Just a really comfortable shoe that I believe cost me around $300 to $350 when I purchased it. I was very, very happy with this model that fit me so well. And so I decided to reach out to Don soon thereafter to say, you know what, I just love your designs. I was wondering if you could make a design that I've had in mind. And as I mentioned, I was getting really into the Italian reverse skin stitch patterns that were out by Bontoni and others. And so I wanted to do something that I hadn't seen before. And so Thon actually assembled this pair for me based off of an idea that I had for that shoe. So this is a reverse apron skin stitch built upon a hole cut pattern. So you can see it's not a seamless hole cut, but it definitely has a nice elegant, you've seen that the heel actually has a little bit more elegance, a little less high, maybe a little bit more of a taper to it, but it's pretty subtle. Well molded to the body, nice clean finish. Again, that sort of beveled waist here and a nice brown sole. I will say that the initial patina that this came in, which he and I talked about, didn't quite meet my satisfaction. It was initially a color that was reminiscent of the sole, a red brown. It just felt very kind of monochromatic. There was a darkening to the toe burnishing, to the area where the toe was, where there was some burnishing, and then some darkening to the area of the apron. But I just wasn't satisfied at the time. So I sent the shoe off to Alberto Suastes. If any of you don't know Alberto, he's a frequent contributor to the forum. He's been a moderator of this forum, and he has a patina service that he manages through Instagram. I believe the name is Patina Works AZ, as in Arizona. Great guy. I've sent a number of shoes to him, and I asked him to try to come up with a patina that was somewhat in the family of more of a darker gray, pewter gray color. And he was able to come up with this. It's really hard to show the detailing and the quality of his patina work, but needless to say, I switched out the laces for black laces. I changed the edging color. I repainted the edges myself to a black just to kind of complement the gray. I left obviously the inside of the shoe, which has some really nice detailing in it, with a tan leather lining, and otherwise I kept the shoe the same, but really came up with a very, very classy shoe that just works so well with my wardrobe in the field that I work in, which requires a little bit of casual to casual dress up wear. The one thing I noticed with the hole cut, the only negative I would say, is the sort of noticeable creasing that the shoe pattern can develop. This is actually not too bad on the shoe. It's a little bit more so on my other shoe because of my shoe shape being a little different. I think some of it has to do with the molding of the leather, maybe the quality of the leather. It does clean up with a little bit of a steam iron application, but overall, gosh, for the price point and the quality and the fact that I could design my own shoe, send it to him, and he could take that idea and turn it into reality was really awesome. And so it's what I love about the modern shoe world, is you can really explore different concepts. And Thon is incredibly gracious and willing to kind of accept ideas and take them and turn them into something that I would consider is art. And so then Thon reached out to me several months ago and said, you know what? I'm upping my game here at Hephaestus. I've opened up a brick and mortar store, and I want to put out higher end products. And he introduced me to his most recent, or one of his more recent designs, which is essentially a skin stitched Adelaide pattern. You can see this Adelaide that's raised up, built also on a hole cut pattern, but against with some unique finishes. It has a toe cap here, right there, if I can get that in focus. There it is. And you can see how nicely the creasing hides within this pattern here. You can see a little bit there, but it actually blends really well. These shoes, actually, I should mention, are all built on that legacy last, which is good for somebody with maybe a lower instep, just based off of this. I have a medium instep, so if you had a very high instep, you can imagine that the lacing might splay a little bit. For me, this is perfect, but just keep that in mind if you're shopping for shoes, that if you have a high instep, this last may not work quite as well for you, but I found it to work really well for my medium instep. And here's sort of a front view of that shoe. Here's the toe, some of the nails on the toe here. This shoe came with a fiddleback waist. You could see that beautiful fiddleback waist, and it's actually hand welted, and came with a more interesting kind of deployed shoe tree here with some coloring. It's a hollowed shoe tree, really light, really elegant, complements the shoe incredibly well. This has a taupe patina, which came with the shoe, a really nice shine to it. And as I mentioned, the leather seems to crease more naturally, more elegantly, as in higher end shoes that crease well like that do. So I don't know if he chose to change the leather or change how the leather was attached or lasted to the tree, but certainly with a little different sole with this fiddleback. Maybe there were some changes there. And he was saying this is part of his King line. So the King line has some more advanced touches, is my understanding. It has some hand welting, obviously. So he hand welts the shoes. Obviously, handmade shoes largely here. These are not shoes that are very machine made at all. There may be some machine stitching going on with the uppers. Here's another really cool detail. Look at the back stitch there, that unique curve with a little flare. And so Thanh, as I mentioned, is a younger shoemaker, maybe a little bit more willing to explore and design and sort of create. And I just love the energy that he has and what he puts into his shoes. Shipping was incredibly fast. My last 2 pairs came to me within 3 days. And you can expect prices between $300 and $500 for his pair. So very affordable given the quality of the shoe that you're getting here. These shoes are truly built to last a lifetime. I've worn all these a number of times because I just love how they feel on my feet. The soles seem to wear very elegantly. This has probably been worn 6 or 7 times at work. And really the soles have held up pretty well there. And as you can see, the uppers, I've actually just polished for the first time, just kind of refinished the polish up top. And you can see how elegant this shoe shape and last is and how kind of nicely tapered the sole is. The sole is maybe a little less of a tight waist than, say, a TLB Mallorca shoe, but really in line with a lot of the bespoke shoemakers out there and a lot of the high-end ready-to-wear at MTO shoemakers. So this was essentially MTO. The process of ordering for Hephaestus is essentially to contact him using either the Facebook Messenger app. He's actually really active on the shoe forum, and send him a message that way. You can also contact him on in messages on Instagram, and then select out an idea or a shoe that you like from his library, and send him your measurements. And then he will choose which last seems to fit your shape and foot the best. He'll ask for a number of different measurements up front. Since he's had mine, and since that legacy last works really well for my foot, which is sort of a medium arch, medium instep, I'm a very standard foot that works with a lot of different lasts. Thankfully, I've found that his lasts work incredibly well. There doesn't appear to be any spacing or any issues. So all in all, I've been very, very happy with Hephaestus. And I would think that if you're considering a brand to kind of explore and to support shoemakers who are kind of going at this on their own in countries such as Vietnam or elsewhere, doing so very creatively and doing so with a bit of flair, similar to sort of what the Italian makers were doing, you should really think about Hephaestus. A lot of the innovation these days in shoemaking is coming through countries like Vietnam, Indonesia with the boot makers there, China with companies such as Acme or Yearn or Yim Shoemaker, Vietnam, as I mentioned, with Hephaestus. There's other companies like CNES that come down at a little lower price point, and others that I think are just really worth exploring. And you're going to get a great bang for your buck. Hephaestus to me is at the top of this line. It's maybe just one step down from, say, like an Antonio Macariello or a very comparable level to, say, a TLB Mallorca. I think a step up from Carlos Santos, just because you get a shoe that's hand welted and built to spec for your foot, and the quality of leathers are comparable. He, I think, mainly uses crust leather, so maybe a slightly thinner could also contribute to some of the creasing that I saw in that one pair. But overall, I think that, for example, the Adelaide that I featured earlier is a real winner here in terms of versatile design. He can patina these any which way. Really beautiful heel block, nice taper there. Just a really, really lovely shoe. So I wanted to show that one more time. And honestly, I don't think that his Derby gets enough love. I know this is part of his main lineup now, but gosh, what a beautiful pair that even a year and a half later I look at in awe and just enjoy the hand and hand craftsmanship, and even just the welting. Even though it's goodyear welted, it's done in such an elegant way, and maybe a little bit more aggressive of a shoe, but just one really worth admiring. So hopefully that gives you a little of window into Than's company and his shoemaking expertise. He's continuing to improve his game. He, as I mentioned, recently introduced his King line. The Adelaide is part of that lineup. And I think that tells you a little bit about somebody who's really trying to push the envelope on both production quality and style, doing it on his own, doing it in a place where shoemaking has not traditionally been known to be a thing, but doing so in a way that it's clear that he has incredible skills and he's growing each and every single day. And he's a young guy, well worth supporting. And from my perspective, Hephaestus is one of the more innovative shoemakers out there. So go check them out. Use the shoe forum as your resource for some of these really cool shoemakers who are doing their thing. And I'm just thrilled that they're around to make our feet happier and sharper for it. Have a good one, guys. Take care.